Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, home of the YouTube Silver Subscriber Award. This is Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and we are thrilled to have you here today on our show, Authentic Achievements. I'm coming to you live from the East Coast of the United States of America, and the star of our show is coming to us from London. Her name is Kim Adele Randall, and this is actually her platform, Authentic Achievements, that she is also running here with us at USA Global TV and Radio. She has such a wide reach, a wide base of clients around the world. So we're grateful to her for that. She is an author. She is a business owner. She's a wonderful mother. That's a huge part of her life. And she's also a TEDx speaker. She's a mentor and she's a coach and she's a TV show star. So let's welcome her to the program. Hello, hello.
Hi, Dr. Jacqueline. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. It's, the sun is shining. You can't fail to find something to be happy about if the sun is. Have you?
And in London, that's not something you see all the time. It's a lot of rain.
No, we are British. We do like to have something to complain about, and our weather gives us plenty of opportunity.
And it's funny where I am in New Jersey, it is pouring. It's been pouring for the last 2 days and I'm really getting tired of it. But I know we need the rain, but it is May. I thought it's April showers. Bring the Mayflowers. So
yeah. I was a little late this year. I needed a little bit more rain.
Exactly. The notice wasn't received. But we were supposed to have a guest today who's not here. So, of course, on live TV, we always know how to pivot. So our topic today is going to be life lessons. And you had something special yesterday. It was a special anniversary. Do you want to share that with our audience?
Yeah. So yesterday was the first anniversary of the loss of my dad. And it was it was a challenging day, but also a real opportunity to reflect on all the lessons I've learned, not just in the last year, which is actually how do I reconnect to the lessons that he gave me while he was here, but also that moment of gratitude and thanks for the fact that we had the 51 years before yesterday where he was able to share those life lessons, and it made me reflect and think about all the lessons we do learn in life, and that sometimes we don't take those moments to be intentionally grateful for them.
Yes, sorry, StreamYard was giving me a challenge there, trying to come back. So what I wanted to just have us touch on, because you are a mother, and then of course you were a daughter, and I don't have any children, but I obviously was a daughter. And I feel like there are a lot of life lessons that parents give us while they're alive. And at a certain age, we're kind of like, no, I don't think so. You dad, mom, you don't know what you're talking about. You're so old, you're in your own world. And then we get to be older and it's kind of like, wow, they were right on point. So Kim, how do you manage being a mother and teaching lessons, knowing that maybe they're not going to be received as well as when Scarlett's older?
Oh, great question, Dr. Jacqueline. And it happens all of the time. So, I mean, she's 8 and they don't always land now. She'll be like, no, mummy, I don't think that's true. Like, okay, but has mummy ever lied to you? And does mummy ever tell you anything that's not true? And how many times do our conversations start with, no, mummy, I don't think that's right, to end with, oh, really, mummy, that's interesting. I said, that's the thing with those lessons is they don't always make sense to us at the time. And it's only a bit like life. It's only when we look at them in the rearview mirror that we go, right, I see now. I see how that fits. I see what that was going to shape me. And I guess for me, what's been particularly challenging in the last year, and you're right to mention, I am a mum. I'm also a daughter, and taking yourself through that grief cycle, whilst also trying to navigate supporting your mum through her grief cycle, and taking Scarlett through her grief cycle, has actually been a real gift. And I say that in probably the oddest way, but what I mean is you have to look at your own and then try and view it from their viewpoint. So to be able to say, well, I can't explain it to you how I'm going through it because you're 8 and you're not going to understand that. So how do I really understand what's happening so that I can use words that work for you so that you can feel listened to and heard and understood? And I guess that really made me go through the pain. It really made me have to spend time with it, to really look at it, to understand what was going on. How was it showing up for me? How was it feeling? So that I could better articulate it to Scarlett, so that she could feel safe, that what she was feeling was okay to be feeling. If that wasn't very articulate at all, was it? To where I am at the minute.
I think I followed you. Yeah, I've got it. So, and it's interesting because at some point, I don't know, maybe when we're in our 20s, we think we know everything. We think we're going to live forever, right? And then all of a sudden, I know I'm 62 now. And I guess when my mom passed away, which was, it seems like it was yesterday, but it was in 2023 in August, you kind of realize that you're not going to be here forever. And maybe some of the lessons that you've learned, you need to kind of pull out, like one of which being, this isn't a dress rehearsal. This is it. I mean, this is the game right here today at this minute. And we're so busy planning for the future. You know, people talk, when I was in corporate, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? I'm thinking, I hope I'm here tomorrow. And my mom used to say that all the time. She would say, I'm grateful to be here another day. And I would say, Mom, that's ridiculous. Of course you're going to be here another day, until she wasn't. So that's a life lesson that I take really to heart, that it doesn't make sense to waste time on things that are unimportant or things that are trite. And I think a lot of it comes down to respecting yourself, respecting others, and respecting the fact that time is short and it's a gift, and enjoy it while you can.
It's such a great lesson. And for me, that was one of the big eye-openers in this last year. It's like, how many times do we save the outfit for a special occasion, or we save we save for these things that are in the future, instead of just being in the here and now? Yes. I remember saying to my mum, if it's taught us anything, wear the outfit. Does it matter if you are sat on your own in your own home, dressed like you're going out? If it makes you feel good, do it. Because we're not promised tomorrow. And I don't mean that in a depressing, let's all feel dreadful about ourselves, but right now is what we've absolutely guaranteed we've got. And so use it to try and bring joy, because that's kind of all we've got. I know, particularly with my dad, there are such plans for their retirement, and yet unfortunately by the time he got to retire, he already had Parkinson's, and those dreams, those things that he'd had put off, he wasn't able to do them all. And so he told us for years, like, live in the moment, make today count. And it reminded me of some lessons that came from my grandparents, who are no longer with us. And my nan used to say, make every day a school day. So in every day, learn something. And my granddad used to say, live each day as if it's your last, and one day you'll be right. And I kind of get both of those now, and added to the lessons from my dad, and go, yeah, make each day something that you are proud of, a moment where you had joy, that you were intentional about it, and don't put off till tomorrow what can be done today, because at least then you know you're going to get it done, and you're going to achieve what it is you wanted to achieve.
Well said. Yes, I agree with you on that too. And I feel like it shouldn't be that we get to a certain age and we start thinking these things. I think it should be when we're much younger that we take these things to heart, because children are always watching, right? They're watching to see what adults are doing. And I love that, just watching children play, and they've got this incredible curiosity. And it makes me think to myself, what happens and when we become an adult that all of a sudden we don't have that anymore, because we're not getting that back unless we actively embrace it. And I think that comes back to embracing the fact that every day is a gift. And to your earlier point about putting things off, I know people who do that as well. I'm not going to wear this jewelry until a certain time. I'm not going to wear this outfit. I'm like, if they're taking me out, I'm going out today in my finest. And even when I go work out, I typically have my hair jewelry in, as long as I can function and do the workouts. But I do not wait for anything. I am showing up. Sometimes friends have said to me, oh, you're going to be wearing a ball gown to dinner. And it's like, no, it's not a ball gown, but I will be wearing a dress just because that's how I am. And, you want to wear sweatpants, that's who you are. And that's fine. There's no judgment. So I really embrace that.
Oh, I love that. I love that you do you, and you let everybody else do them. Because I think that's the thing, as when we're born, we are full of curiosity and wonder. And we are totally and utterly in love with ourselves. We think we're amazing. Have you ever watched a baby and they're like, they could spend hours just looking at their fingers and their toes? They're totally and utterly in awe of themselves. And everything is driven by what they need. They're hungry, they're going to let you know. They're tired, they're going to let you know. They want to be picked up, they're going to let you know. Whatever goes on, they are totally and utterly the center of their own world, as we all are, as we all were. And then we societally teach them that that's not right, that's not acceptable, you can't be the center of your own world, and we put in all of these barriers, and we take away curiosity, because nobody wants to deal with the child that says why 7 million times. I know, I have one of those, and she does, and sometimes she's like, really, we're still on why? But actually, if we fuel that curiosity, if we allow ourselves to become curious, to go, actually, why am I so wedded to being right? Why am I so convinced that I know better than you know? What is it you can see that I can't see? And when we open ourselves up to that, we start to see the art of the possible, because we are in a world of polarity. For every up, there's a down. For every left, there's a right. So for everything that we believe to be true, the opposite is also true. And once we allow ourselves to look at the world through that curiosity we were born with, we start to see so much more opportunity and so much less constraint.
That's a good word. That's a powerful word. And it reminds me, my mother, after my dad passed, she really was living life on her own terms. She loved sugar, loved it. She loved licorice. She loved candy. She loved Coca-Cola. I haven't had a soda, I think, in 30 or 40 years, but she loved it. And I used to say to her, Mom, why are you eating all this junk? And then when she got sick and I had to shop for her, I was so embarrassed. All the entire car, the thing is sugar. And I'd say to the person checking out, I'd be like, yeah, it's not for me. It's for my mom. Like, I don't know why I felt like I had to say that. But after she passed away, I started thinking, you know what? She lived her life the way that she wanted to live it. And she made it to 84, which, that's pretty good. Although I look at it now, and that's 22 years from now. And I think, well, I'm not really ready to go yet. But the point is making a decision about how you want to live your life and how you show up for it, and whether or not you are caving in to what other people think. For example, people might say that something about your physicality doesn't work for them, like, oh, maybe your hair is too long or whatever the case is, but you can decide. And my father used to say that, you need to believe in yourself and you need to depend on you instead of thinking that your mother and I are going to take care of you for the rest of your life or a man's going to take care of you. You have to be able to take care of you. And that really resonated. That to me is a big life lesson of counting on yourself. And I'll defer to you because you're also single. So how do you feel about that, about being dependent on yourself?
Yeah, I think that was a massive lesson. The one thing, the only person in the world that you can guarantee will be with you from the day you're born to the day you die is you. So it's a relationship you can't get away from. You can't outrun yourself. Wherever you go, you go. And so the number one relationship you have to build is the one with yourself. You have to build a relationship where you can rely on yourself. You can like yourself. You can, that doesn't mean say above everybody else, but if you can't like yourself and rely on yourself, how can you expect other people to like and rely on you? And I guess for me, I'm very conscious that at 52, I'm an older mum, and that therefore it is more likely that Scarlett will lose me earlier in her life than I lost my first parent. And I'm very cognizant of that. And so I spend a lot of my time trying to help her to realize that actually everything she needs is within her. Everything she's ever going to need in life is in there, because you never really lose the people you love. You can still get their wisdom. You can still get their love and that feeling of warmth and safety by thinking about them, by thinking, I do this all the time. What would Dad say to me right now in this situation? Or what would Granddad or Nan say to me right now? And therefore I can borrow that. And so I'm trying to instill that in Scarlett, which is, you can always get to everybody you love by thinking about them and asking yourself the question, what would they say to me now? What would they be saying in this moment? And then you can take that comfort, you can take that advice, you can move that bit forward. But we have to learn first to become our own best friend.
I completely agree with you. And thanks for sharing what you just shared about the fact that you're an older mom, because that's something that, I didn't even think of. But you're looking at it in the big picture in terms of, what's the likelihood of how much time is left and how much time will you have for her and how's that going to impact her? I mean, that's got to be really a big, I don't want to say a brick, but that's got to be a big responsibility to carry around.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I guess it's been heightened by the fact I have had 2 very serious illnesses in that time, which does make you look at your immortality. But equally, when I look at it, my mum was in her 20s when she had me. And my dad was 30 when he had me, and I got 51 years. But I had Scarlett at 43. So I am already 12 years later on than my dad was. And you kind of look at that then and go, oh my goodness, well, what age could that make her? And I know how I'm coping with it now. So how would I have coped with it earlier in my life? And I think it makes you be more intentional. It makes you think about, actually, how do I make sure that I'm leaving the right legacy for her? And I'll be honest, it ended up, I wrote a book for Scarlett. So I wrote the book for her to help her through grief and trauma, to help her through, how she's feeling and have a way to be able to stay connected to everything. And watch this space, because somebody has encouraged me to send it to a publisher and see whether or not I can get it published. But the point of the book, the whole point of it, was that she would have something that would live long beyond me, that would allow her to be reminded of the fact that everything she needs is within her, and that you don't ever lose the love. It just changes shape.
Congratulations. I had no idea that you wrote another book. That's tremendous.
Yeah, it was last week, and it just came to me. And it was all the stuff I've been telling her in the last year. And I suddenly thought, how do I make that more tangible for her so that it lives on, so that she can always get to that those feelings, to that thought, to that comfort. And bless her little heart. I mean, at the moment it's a PDF printout, and I even practice new skills on AI, and I've illustrated it through AI with pictures that look just like her and Pudding and Lenny. But it was around helping her, and she's taken it with her every day. It's the most obvious PDF, Dr. Jacqueline, that you're ever going to see in your life, that she's like escorting around. But because of that, she shared it with her counsellor, and one of them was like, "Can you need to send this in and see whether or not somebody will publish it, because this could really help other children that are facing similar things, facing loss, don't know how to express how they're feeling, and don't know how to regain that feeling of safety, that feeling of love, that acknowledgement that it's okay. We have big, scary, horrible feelings some of the time, and that's okay, because we can survive those and we can find joy on the other side. And it doesn't mean we don't live in them, because I think one of the challenges, and I find this really, really hard as a mum, is when we see our child hurt, we want to take the pain away. We want it to stop. We want to be able to go in and go, it's all okay, it's all okay. But actually what we do, if we do that, is we teach them to ignore their emotions, to push them away, to not trust them. And as they get older, that gets worse. And then we start to disconnect from who we are. And so for me, one of the hardest things I have to do every day is sit with her and hold the safe space for her to express her emotions, to acknowledge them, to realize that it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be joyful. It's okay to be calm. It's okay to feel all of those simultaneously and not know why. But once we acknowledge them, we can let them go. They no longer have to take hold of us. They no longer have to be the ones at the wheel. But if we don't acknowledge them, if we don't look at them, if we don't voice them and voice our right to feel all of them, then we bottle them up and they become something much worse.
And that's when health issues can start to show up, to manifest. Absolutely.
And we're seeing that in the world, aren't we? We're seeing, a global increase in those challenges. And I think it's because we've created this compare and despair society where we see the seemingly perfect worlds of everybody else and look at the messy reality of our own and find ourselves lacking. But the reality is we all have mess in our lives. Everybody. There's no one person that gets out of here without a little bit of mess. So we need to start realizing that actually that's okay, and that doesn't make us bad, and it doesn't make us wrong, and it doesn't mean we're not allowed to feel it. And that has been probably my hardest lesson in this last year, has been to not rush in and make it better for her, to not leap in and take the pain away, to not go, no, we don't need to feel like that, and go, it's okay to feel like that. It's okay to be sad. And it's not going to last forever. We can have those moments where we feel sad, and that's okay, and we can sit with that. And then, one of the things I do with her is go, okay, well, you're sad because you're thinking that Bumps is gone. And she's like, yes. I said, okay. And I get that, because I'm sad that that's happened, and it hurts. But I don't really want to carry on feeling like that. But I do want to use this moment. This is my body's prompt to say, it's time to think about him. I said, but I don't want to think about the sad part, because I can't change that. That's only going to head me into feeling sadder and sadder. So instead, I want to think about a happy memory. I want to think about something we did together, or a lesson that he taught me, or something else. So I'm still thinking about him. I'm still in that moment. But now, instead of it being something that is bringing me sadness, it's something that is reminding me of something that brings me joy.
I love that. That should be in a book too. Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. My father had a saying, which was, nobody's getting out of this game alive.
Yeah, yeah.
And I used to think that was so ridiculous, but at some point, it does start to set in. So one of the other things I just wanted to mention, I'm obviously 10 years older than you. And if you were to say to me, looking back on the last 10 years, like what lessons have you learned that you could share? And maybe you could do the same thing for someone who's 10 years younger than you are. And I think for me, I've just decided, especially with the last 6 months with, moving from Florida, selling the house, then I move here and then there's no heat, there's no toilets, then there's a flood, then I have to move to a hotel, then I have all these health issues that came out of nowhere. And I just decided, you know what, I am going to Europe and I'm going to make a tour of it. And that's it. I'm going. I don't know where the money's coming from. I don't know and you know what, as of yesterday, made all the arrangements and I just said, I'm doing it. And then the other thing is I've got this book signing coming up and it's outside and it's for about 6 hours. And I thought, I don't feel like buying a tent and the table and the raffle tickets. Like I'll just sit there with a small table and sign. I'll wear a hat. And I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to go big or go home, because I don't know when I'm going to do a book signing like this with potential audience. So I'm going to have a professional setup. I mean, it's going to look like, I don't know what anyone else is going to look like. This is going to look like a major setup. I'm going to have these big banners outside of it. And so part of why I'm saying that is I've decided that I'm not waiting, like what we talked about in the beginning. I'm going to take life in my hands and I am going to live it. And that looks like, being with someone I want to be with, not being with people I don't want to be with, not doing things I don't want to do. I mean, within reason, but wherever it is I am, I'm going to make sure that my heart is there too. And that I'm not just kind of walking through life like a zombie, which I did when I was younger. So to me, it's about living every day to the fullest. And again, it's not a dress rehearsal.
I love that. And I love that you've taken that lesson to get out there and do what you want to do. And I think for me, one of my lessons that I learned in the last 10 years that I wish I'd learned sooner was other people's opinion of me is none of my business. All I can do is focus on what I'm trying. Is my intention honorable? Am I trying to leave things better than I found them? Am I trying to be kind to myself as well as others? And that's definitely been a lesson in the last 10 years. I spent my life always on the trying to be kind to others at the expense of being kind to me. And you can't do that. At some point, you get to a stage where you realize you cannot pour from an empty cup. And it's not selfish to do self-care. In fact, it's selfish not to. Because, and particularly as a mum, if I don't look after myself, if I don't do the self-care, then I am going to not be in her life for as long as I could be. And that's selfish. That's not fair in my eyes. And so that's been a real lesson for me, which is to factor myself into the elements of kindness as much as I factor in the people I'm trying to be kind to.
Bravo, bravo, bravo on that. That's terrific. I think a couple of other lessons, one of which really has been instilled in me through this platform, is about being your own best advocate for your health. And I think when I was younger, it was, the doctor said this or doctor said that. Now I actually do my own research. And we have a show called This is Phlox with Talia Smith, who is the show host. And she took 3 Cipro pills, ended up in hospice, and she's been in palliative care for 4 years. And she actually does her show from her hospital room. Mm-hmm. And it to me, it's just brought so much awareness that just because someone has a degree or they have a license, that doesn't mean that it's the best thing for you. It could be an option, but do your own research to determine what is best for you. And I think that also applies to life. When people want to give you advice or they want to problem solve for you, you can listen to what it is, but at the end, you have to make the decision because you're the one who's going to be living with the results. And tracking someone down and going, oh, it's your fault because you said do this. No, you decided to accept it. So I think that's a lesson. And then the last one I just wanted to throw out and see what your thoughts are. When I was younger, if someone would tell me something, I was a really good listener, and I could definitely keep a secret. I've got some secrets that go way back. They're in the lockbox. And I realized as I got older, somebody else's story is not mine to tell. So for example, if I know something about someone and I'm close with someone else, it's not my job to tell them about someone else. It's not. And I call that gossiping, really, gossiping about someone else. But people might say, oh, did you know that so-and-so did this and you didn't tell me? And my answer is, I did know, and it wasn't my job to tell you. So that takes a lot of pressure off, I think, as we get older, that everybody else's story is not ours to tell, it's theirs.
Yeah, I love that. It's such great advice, because I think we do. We learn. People will tell me things, and you keep those secrets. And my number one fear is that I will ever accidentally give away somebody else's secret. And to put that into context, we were at my mum's at the weekend, and my brother's had another tattoo, which he's had in honor of my dad, and we were talking about it. I said, something about it being his second, and my mum looked horrified and went, he has another one. And I was there going, oh my goodness, and I don't think I'm telling you new news. I'm sure I found out about his first one when he shared it with all of us, because he's got the names of his children. But I was in that moment thinking, oh my goodness, I've shared a secret that wasn't mine. I've shared a story that wasn't. Fortunately, my brother was there, and he was able to remind my mum that she knew about the other one. She'd seen it before, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's okay." So I'm so grateful, because that's the bit I never want to do. I never want to share somebody else's story, or somebody else's secret, because that's theirs to decide who they tell and how they tell.
That's true. And I think the other thing about secrets per se is, if someone says to you, listen, I'm going to tell you something, but don't tell anyone, you have to expect that they will tell someone. And I've learned this lesson the hard way, especially if they're in a relationship or they're married. We tell each other everything. It's like, oh, okay, well, thank you for telling me that, because now I'm not going to tell you because and that's another thing, by the way. And I teach this, as you know, in my course, Setting Boundaries and Asking Permission, is that you don't have to share everything with everyone. You can, as you mentioned earlier, you can sit with something by yourself instead of feeling like you immediately have to react and call 10 people to tell them what happened. And I really embrace that more and more in my life, because I am alone, and a lot of things do happen to me that I have to figure out. I told you I was on the side of the road with the car, and I wasn't going to call everyone and alert them, that I'm having a meltdown right now. And I feel like, but that could be an option, because you're kind of desperate for somebody to give you some security or some sense of peace. But what I found is you have to get it from yourself.
Yeah. It's so true, because there are those moments where we feel overwhelmed with what's going on in our world, and the thing that we don't know is what's going on in everybody else's world. Mm-hmm. They might be feeling equally overwhelmed and equally like, like I'm here. I've got nothing else left to give, and so and I loved the course. If we're not careful and we don't seek permission, is now a good time? Does this work? Then actually, we're not going to get the reaction that we expected, and we're not going to get the reaction we need, because we've got to be in a place to be able to give. And for me, it was a real eye opener in that whole. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to not pick up the phone, if actually. If you're not in a position to be able to answer that right now, with one exception, if it's Scarlett's school, doesn't matter what's going on in the world, I'm answering the phone, because I know that's probably them telling me something's happening for her. Yes. For everything else, I can go, well, actually, I can call you back in 10 minutes when I've done what it is that I'm doing, and that's been a real game changer for me, really big game changer, because I used to answer. No matter, even when I hadn't really got time. And then I'd be half committed to the conversation. So I wasn't even really properly listening, which is appalling. And now, so I wasn't therefore really holding the space for that other person to share what it is that they needed to share. Because half of me was thinking about the thing I really needed to do that I'd chosen. And I admit I chose it. I'd chosen to stop doing to half do this new thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now I wasn't being anything to anybody. I was half listening to this person. I was half doing that thing over there, and wondered why the only thing I was succeeding in was making myself very overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's definitely not fulfilling. And something else along those same lines, I really feel, is knowing your audience. And I think at 62, I have a certain level of maturity, which means if you have someone in your life and you need to speak to them about something, and you know they're going through something, or you know they're highly agitated, or they don't feel well, or maybe they've been working nonstop, it might not be the best time to tell them. So what I do is I sit with whatever it is, and then I say to myself, okay, well, I know this person is going through this. When they're through that, then I'm going to ask for permission to tell them. But why would I give them something else to put on their plate when they're already kind of flailing and struggling? And so, it's not something that I even would say, well, I wanted to tell you a week ago, but you were doing X, Y, Z. It's because that's really passive aggressive. So I just keep it to myself. And when I think it's a time that they could be ready to handle it, I don't know, I'll ask for permission, but not in the middle of the throes of whatever they're going through.
Yeah. No, it's about being respectful, isn't it? It's like, I know with me and my brother, who I adore, we'll do a quick WhatsApp message going, let me know when you're free for 5. And then we always follow it up with, it's nothing urgent, so that the other person doesn't panic going, oh my God, what's happening? What's going wrong? Because then the other person can, at the time that they've got the 5 minutes, they can make the call. And I hadn't realized that we were inadvertently seeking permission, but we've always done that. We've always done the let me know when you're free for 5, and then a follow up with it's nothing urgent, or it's nothing bad. It's probably been one that's crept in the last year with obviously everything that happened with my dad. So it's a kind of calming piece, but it helps. It makes you feel connected, even without having the conversation.
Exactly. And the thing is that you're also, in a way, you're being respectful to the other person and respectful to yourself. And when you do have that conversation, it's going to be at a completely different level than it would have been if you were passively listening because you were distracted by doing something. And I feel like that's key, that we as a society sometimes feel so obligated to respond right away because, we don't want to leave you sitting with whatever it is, that we might not be giving the best version of ourselves, and we might not be able to listen at the highest level. So we're not bringing any value to the other person.
It's so true, because although it's driven from a good place, because you don't want to leave them hanging, you don't fully show up, which means you're not necessarily giving them, or you're not giving them your all, and therefore you're probably not giving them necessarily always the fullest advice that you could. And I think it's that piece. We say it to my mum all the time at the moment. It's like, just because the phone rings does not mean saying you have to answer it. Right? If you're busy doing something else, you can choose to not answer and call back when you are available. Because when I was growing up, you didn't have mobile phones. I mean, I remember my dad's first ever mobile phone, and honestly, Jacqueline, it was hilarious. It was this huge box, and it had a handle on it because it was that heavy that you needed to use your whole body to be able to lift it up. But that wasn't until I was probably in my 11, 12 sort of age. So if you weren't in the house, you weren't in. People couldn't get in touch with you. People would have to wait until you were back, and we still survived. We still got through life. And now that we have got mobile phones and they're always with us, we've lost that ability to prioritize, because we feel this drive to always be there. And how many times when we answer that call has it actually been something that's really urgent? Has it been really urgent, or has it just been it was urgent to that person, or even it wasn't urgent to that person, they were just killing time? And if you'd have said, actually, I'm free in 20 minutes, is that okay? 20 minutes would have been perfectly acceptable, because they just wanted to to have a chat. I've got one friend who will sometimes ring me and go, do me a favor, put me on loudspeaker and go and do something else. I just need to rant for 5 minutes and then actually I want to have a chat with you. And whilst I never do put them on loudspeaker and ignore them, it always makes me smile that that's the expectation. So because of that, I know sometimes when they ring, I can go, well, I will call them back in 5 minutes because I know that they'll just be having the rant anyway right now. And that's when they'll need to talk to me.
Yeah, there's something about ranting and just having someone listen. I know last night I had a call and I had just come in. I worked out for a couple hours and then got something to eat. And I came into the parking garage and someone was in my space and somebody else was in my space a couple days ago. And it's just annoying because I don't know where I'm supposed to park because I don't know what spaces are open because there's, they don't have any way of, I think I should have like a big cone, like a big orange cone or something. So anyway, I had to get on this call and I was running late and I knew like the frame of mind I was in. I wanted to just text the person and say, listen, I'm not in a good space. But I got onto the Zoom and I just said, I need to rant for like 5 minutes. Is that okay? Yeah. So I just like, blah, 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 blah. And then I got it out of my system because in the big picture of life, it's not that big of a deal. It's just annoying. And what I think really for me is at the core of it is disrespect. Why would you park in space that's not yours? Like, if you're assigned a parking space, what space it is. And so then you have to go to management and then, it's just a whole big thing. But my point was, I knew that if I could have it my druthers, so to speak, I would have made the call like 30 minutes later when I could have not gone through the rant because I don't necessarily want to rant, but at the same time, you got to get it out of your system. So it's just about asking for the permission and maybe instead of it being a 10-minute rant, it's a 5 minutes, it's 2 minutes. It's maybe just write it down, and then rip it up.
Oh, I must admit the amount of times that I write an email, never with the person's address in, so I can't accidentally send it, and then leave it at the bottom and come back half an hour later, read it again and go, glad I didn't send that. Now let's look at it without all the emotion because actually it's not going to have the impact that I expected. And I think they're the bits. It's recognizing in those moments, whenever I feel your pain on the parking space piece because you park somewhere else and then somebody might think you're the one that's parked in the wrong space.
Exactly.
And convenience them and now you're actually doing the thing. So we overthink it and we spiral it, don't we? So like that into a much bigger nightmare than it actually was. And yet sometimes it's just acknowledging, for me, one of the big things has been acknowledging that it's not really this little thing that's causing me the problem. It's just that this little thing was the last thing to get dropped into the already full cup. So rather than take everything out on this little thing, it's acknowledging actually you were just the final straw. You were just the last thing. And so I might have disproportionately responded to it, but that's because I need to acknowledge there's so many other things that are going on that made this the final straw, the thing I couldn't take. I was liking it to playing Pictionary with my best friend. If you don't get the picture straight away, she underlines it, and I'm like, I just don't know what it is, Livy. It's not I can't see it. I just don't know what it is. You only need to draw me something else. And I think that's sometimes what I find when I'm dealing with things that are hitting me emotionally is actually all it's really done, all that one thing's done is underline how I was feeling about lots of other things, and that's been the bit that tipped me over.
That's such a good analogy, Kim Adele. I'm going to keep that one if you don't mind, because I can see it. You draw something, you keep tapping it, and then you're like, this, and you're like, no, I don't get it. Can you give me something else? Draw something else. But to your point, and then we'll close out this topic, is I think my frustration with the parking space, because it's happened numerous times, it has to do with the entire way that this property is run. And I feel through the whole situation, I've been totally disrespected. I sent an attorney's letter to their attorney. They never even responded. I mean, the things that went on. And the thing is, I feel like because I'm a public figure, then the people who are here, they're like, oh my gosh, you're no, I'm just a regular person. I don't want to lose my cool. I don't ever want to come across as being witchy. But at the same time, like, that was it last night. I have had enough. I'm going to go down to the office. I'm going to say, what is the solution so this doesn't happen anymore? Because I don't want to feel like this, and I don't want to put it on you, but you have to do something because this is in your area of management, correct?
Yeah. And I think that's it. Sometimes we have to, we have to acknowledge those elements and go, I don't want to be, I don't want people to think badly of me or think I feel too much about myself. But then equally, I don't want to constantly feel like I'm not worth anything at all because I'm just letting everything else happen. And sometimes sometimes it's really hard to be the world's most reasonable person. So you get there and go, no, really, I've had that leveled at me a few times. Like, you're so reasonable, and it's like, but sometimes, sometimes it really sucks being reasonable. Sometimes it really takes more than it should to have the patience to see the other person's point of view all of the time. And I guess that, has been one of my lessons recently, which is actually it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to, for a moment, not want to be reasonable, and to at least sit with myself for that and be angry and be frustrated. And then when I'm calm, go back to being the reasonable person. And I just choose to do it on my own rather than be unreasonable with the other person.
Absolutely. And being rational and reasonable, I think really resonates, 3 R's, really resonates with people. And it helps keep the emotions at bay. And what I find is if it's not something like with the parking that really triggers me, I could be a lot more reasonable than reactionary. So I have to get to the core of what is the solution. And I think that's a message I would leave for everyone is, how can you put the emotion aside when you think about life's lessons? How can you put the emotion aside and make a logical decision that's in your best interest, that years from now you'll say that was a great decision that I made, instead of I was a nervous wreck, I was filled with anxiety, and I just said, whatever, just make the decision. And then we regret it, and then we just, belabor the point.
Oh, I love that. It's so true. One of the questions I ask myself, and I ask the people that my clients is, before we move any further, what would a good outcome look like for you? Because once we know what would a good outcome look like for me, we'll make better choices in how we try and get there. So if a good outcome for me is that the person moves the car and next time I'm there, I don't have the same problem, then ranting, is it going to get me that outcome? Or actually, am I going to have to try and do a different thing? So it just helps me in that reframing in that moment. Let's go in. I'm really frustrated. I'm not outcome focused right now. I'm feeling focused. So how do I change that? How do I flip the switch on that? And for me, that question, hopefully it helps. And that question for me helps, which is when I'm in that minute, I ask myself, just for a second, what would good look like for you right now? What would a good solution be for this? And then it helps me move my brain towards finding the resolution instead of focusing on your point. I feel anxious, I feel overwhelmed, I feel disrespected, I feel all of those things that I'm allowed to feel, but that aren't going to necessarily change the problem.
It's true. I feel like with me, if I'm having a down day or I'm thinking about what isn't, as soon as I start being productive and using my creativity, I don't even think about that anymore. And I'm so overjoyed. Like I put together this new clip for the corner bookstore. It's a movie trailer. And so I collected the books from everyone, and then I hired different people to do different things. And then I brought it all back together, and then I had to do the editing, and it takes hours. I mean, I just did a commercial for someone else. It took me a week with editing. And I have other people who can do it, but I really take pride in if it's someone on our team, like I personally want to put my stamp of approval on it. And so my point is, when I'm doing things like that, it brings me joy. And I'm not thinking about what I don't have. I'm thinking about how this movie trailer might impact someone's life, that maybe somebody out there will see your book cover and they'll think, wow, you know what? I'm going to go and pick up that copy. I don't know what's going to happen, but to me, it's a world of opportunity.
Oh, I love that. And I think it is. We do live in a world of opportunity. And it is around framing it that way, isn't it, for ourselves? In those moments where we can't see the opportunity, it is looking for, because I think that's one of the challenges is very often we set our goals in the negative. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be unfit. I don't want to be unhealthy. Instead of setting them in the positive, which is, I would like to be healthy. I would like to be fit. I would like to be. And I think once we start to hear for ourselves that our goal is what we don't want, we can start to ask ourselves what we do want. And what we do want is going to bring us more joy.
And joy is the end game, isn't it? It's about inner peace. It's about world peace. And I really enjoyed our time together. And I'm sorry that our guest wasn't here, but you and I had a great conversation. So we always have our own online therapy, if you will, and hopefully people will glean some gems from it. So Kim Adele Randall, what is the best way for people to reach you, and who would you like to contact you?
Okay, of course. So the best way to reach me is either go to the website, so it's AuthenticAchievements.com, or you can email me at kim@kimadelrandall.com. And really, anybody who's got a story that they want to share, and if you think you'd be a good guest, get in touch, let me know. Or if you are a CEO or C-suite leader or business owner who is looking to do a transformation, then please do reach out, and hopefully I can give you some usable steps to help you get there.
Outstanding. Well, thank you again for being here. I always enjoy our conversations. I'm super excited to meet you in person in the near future. Yay! So you enjoy the rest of your afternoon and early evening there, and we will chat soon.
I look forward to it. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. You've been watching Authentic Achievements on USA Global TV and Radio, and we are going to close out with some really important information. I think people sometimes look at commercials or sponsorships and they just think, well, I'm not going to watch this. But the reason why people do these ads is because they have information to share with you. So being open to learning and embracing the information is really important. So let's honor our sponsors and let's take a look at what they're sharing today. Here we go.
Conveniently located in the Cherry Hill Mall in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Avio Art specializes in custom art and photography printing. From museum-quality canvas prints and stretching to photo restoration, fine art reproduction, and framing with museum-grade glass, every service is completed in-house with exceptional attention to detail. Visit avioart.com or email support@avioart.com. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents The Corner Bookstore, hosted by Red O'Loughlin. Step into a world where every story inspires. These pages come to life through the voices of authors from around the globe. Written by our global community of TV show hosts and best-selling authors, these works span genres, generations, and geographies, united by the power of storytelling. Discover your next favorite book and meet the minds behind the work. Thursdays, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy USA Global TV and Radio, home of the YouTube Silver Creator Award, proudly presents Just the Thing for Your Ring, introducing the patented Ring Thing, your premium personal ring holder to keep your ring safe, nearby, and avoid loss.
The Ring Thing just got smarter. Add your logo and an NFC tag that opens to your website with one tap. Waterproof, inner padding, and now a forever business card.
Just the thing for your ring. Scan the QR code seen here to learn more about Ring Thing or place your order. Follow Ring Thing on Instagram at ring_thing_ or go to our website ringthing.com.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. Discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang. Creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting Brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio, is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time.
Meet Red O'Loughlin, TV show host, presenter, and author.
Howdy all, Red O'Loughlin here. I'm a TV host on the USA Global TV and Radio Network.
Red has 3 weekly shows every Thursday.
I've been a TV host now with USA Global probably maybe just a little over 3 years. Probably, I know for sure, 250, 300 shows.
Join Red on the Corner Bookstore.
The Corner Bookstore is one where we talk to authors, publicists, publishers, editors, cover designers, anybody associated with the writing and authoring book production business. You have somebody in that area, I can help you with regard to getting your book done, getting it published, working with you on a cover. A lot of things I can help people with, and I have probably maybe published over 40 books for people so far.
Join Red on The Wise Ones.
On the Wise Ones, I'm looking for entrepreneurs, business owners, people who have wisdom, lessons learned over time that they can share with others. So please go to usaglobaltv.com, sign up, and join me there.
Book your session on usaglobaltv.com. Join Red on Talking Heads.
On Talking Heads, I take my experience. I fell in love with chemistry many years ago, got a degree in it, got an invitation to Vietnam, never practiced chemistry per se, but I did get a chance when my wife was going through chemo to get back into the chemical end of things. I started looking for cause and effect relationships. I had been working at a company doing cause and effect analysis on failures in the field on various products that we made. So I said, why not look at the cellular structure in the body? The chemicals are chemicals, they do certain things. So I take my knowledge of chemistry and research, I write about it, I speak about it. I have over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn. most of them dealing with some aspect of health or wellness. I speak on that topic quite often, and the Talking Head Show is one that I concentrate my knowledge of health and wellness on in order to help people.
Red is a distinguished Toastmaster.
As a distinguished Toastmaster, I help people get their speeches developed. The presentation is something that I critique all the time with Toastmasters. It's one of those skills that I have. I can easily help you on that one. So from the position of writing, publishing, book coach, speaking, and being a keynote speaker at an event or virtually, depending on how things work out. But those are the things that I can help people with, and I have 3 shows every week here on the USA Global TV and Network, and please join me when you can. Appreciate it. Bye now.
Here are some of the books that Red has written and published. Contact Red at redolaughlin.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.